Welcome to the Solo Edit Podcast, a podcast for estheticians looking for a weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and honest conversations about life in and out of the treatment room. Today, my guest is Esther. You may know her online as the Korean Esthetician. Hey, Esther, welcome to the Solo Edit. For those who aren't familiar with you, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I have been in the industry for almost 3 years. I actually did start my business pretty much straight out of school. So my business has been around for almost 3 years as well. I'm in the Dallas area, specifically Richardson, Texas. It's been a really fun journey up until this point. I can't believe that I've been in the industry for as short of a time period, but it also kind of feels long at the same time. It's been a really great journey so far.
I feel like just watching you, I can see why it feels longer because you've really just done the work in your business. It's been so amazing to watch your business grow and flourish. I have to ask you, as a Korean, what insights do you have to offer about K-beauty?
Yeah, great question. And I feel like it can go a couple of different ways. You know, with K-beauty, there's the skincare side of things, and then there is plastic surgery. So I have some thoughts and things about the plastic surgery side, but when it comes to skincare, so part of my story is that my mom grew up in the country. And for her, she's actually just now, as I've been doing aesthetics, has just now gotten into having a more consistent skincare routine. And so I feel like my story is a little bit different in terms of being a Korean person and my experience with K-beauty, because more often than not, for Koreans, skincare is like a ritual that's passed down from generations. Like grandmas are teaching their, grandkids how to take care of their skin. I remember even my own grandma on my dad's side, I would spend the night over at her house and she would show me all of the creams and products that she would put on her skin. And she was using cold creams, all these different things, and would be like, do you want to try? So I think skincare for Koreans is like from the get-go, like as soon as you're born, you're just exposed to it.
Yeah.
And so skincare isn't this optional thing. It's just a part of life. And I feel like in Western society, it's not seen so much as that. It's kind of seen as like a chore or like, oh, well, I have to do this, rather than for Koreans, it's like, no, like this is just what I do. Like this is just part of me, who I am, my rituals. So that's one thing. And then, sunscreen being such a huge part of Korean skincare practice. Like, we don't want to get tan.
Yeah.
Even from a young age, my mom would be like, don't get too tan. You got to wear sunscreen. That piece was passed down to me. And so I do feel like sunscreen is a non-negotiable. And I feel like you've talked about that, a bit on your blog. But even like when I see my own clients, and I actually see a good bit of Asian clients, but also a lot of non-Asian clients. And when I talk to them about sunscreen, how important it is, many people, whether they're Asian or not, that were born here, they just haven't gotten into the practice of applying sunscreen and reapplying sunscreen, which I think is so interesting. You know?
I also think that like in this day and age, sunscreen isn't just about vanity. With the rise in skin cancer.
Yeah.
It's like such an important conversation that we have with our clients because skin cancer is so scary. It can literally travel under the skin and you have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And the statistics are just going up. Skincare is not just for funsies or just for self-care. Like our skin is our largest organ. So we should be taking care of it. And sunscreen is definitely a huge proponent of really taking care of this organ that we have that's there to protect us.
Yeah.
There's such a difference. Like there's varying levels within Korean skincare overseas. Like there's the over-the-counter stuff that has been really big on TikTok and social media. But there's also luxury Korean skincare, like from brands like Shiseido, Sorasu, Amore. I just think it's interesting because when I think about what's overseas versus Western skincare, a lot of what we're seeing on social media about Korean skincare is kind of like the same tier pricing wise as like things that we find at the drugstore, right? But like these other luxury brands like Shiseido and Sarasu, they're kind of like the Dior, Chanel of America. And so I just think it's really interesting that there are some parallels there, but that even in Korea, there is a difference in terms of quality level maybe, or even just like name brand.
I also think so much of it, different brands have more money for marketing as well.
Yes, totally. With professional Korean skincare, it's just different. I feel like for what kinesthetics, brings to the table, we're getting kind of the best of both worlds, and that we're getting really great price points for our clients. But in terms of the results that we're getting, it's just so amazing.
I think that's actually like in a lot of areas of the world. Like France is known for having great skincare, and like a lot of those brands are at the local supermarket. It's just like very different than how it is here in general. Okay, shifting to business a little bit. I kind of mentioned watching has been just incredible. I'm curious, what are some ways that you've kind of created your own space in this industry? Like what you offer, how you retain clients, anything special that you kind of do for them, or what do you think has really attributed to your success and growth?
Yeah, thank you so much for saying all of that. Even before going to aesthetic school, I knew that I wanted to specialize in acne and Korean treatments and skincare. Acne because I grew up with it, and I know just like the physical, mental toll that it takes on people. And then obviously Korean treatments because I'm Korean and I just know that it's great and it works. But as I've gone through my journey so far, I've placed a really high value for providing like true results for my clients coming from a holistic point of view, right? Like I really speak to my clients from the get-go in our initial consultation that I work holistically. We have to take a look at lifestyle factors that contribute to your skin and your skin's health as we're working together. And so just having a well-rounded approach that way, but then also having a really high value for providing a healing space, not just in terms of results, but for relaxation and for facial massage. I've really leaned into the facial massage piece within the last year. And my clients have been loving it because the bulk of my treatments, we really focus on providing some really amazing facial massage as well as getting the results-driven treatments. And so I think just recently that's been something that's really helped me stand apart from others. But also, I provide really thorough consultations and treatment plans with my clients. And I mean, I'm sure so many of us have seen this, but when I have a first-time client come through and we have their consultation, I typically have about 30 to 40 minutes dedicated towards our consult. But within probably the last 2 or 3 months, I've actually had a few who, because they have so much to share, their skin history was a bit more complex. Their consultations ran like an hour. And I do try to balance, like, okay, I want to make sure that we are thorough and we get to the treatment portion if it's an in-person consultation. But I've also found that, my clients, when they want to speak, let them speak because they haven't ever really gotten this opportunity to really share everything that they've been thinking about, dealing with, questions they've had, with another professional, another provider. So because I see the value in that, I do offer that really thorough, in-depth consultation. And then I do a follow-up with all of my new clients and I send them a detailed treatment plan that spans about 6 months, letting them know that this is just a starting off point for us. And then also recommending a full-on routine and some other like resources and things like that. My goal from the beginning was to provide the best care experience to my clients. And I think the way that my consultations go, as well as our treatment plans, it's really provided that for them.
Your consultation is a great way to build that relationship. It could be a huge missed opportunity to bond and create that sense of trust and care. And, just being in Facebook groups, I've seen estheticians mention, like, I don't want to bore them. I don't want them to feel we're going too in depth, but people want to be heard. And it's an opportunity for them to like share with you what their concerns are and how they're feeling. And so a consultation is such an important part of that puzzle in building and maintaining client loyalty for sure.
Yeah, 1000%. Even though my consultations are thorough, it's lighthearted at the same time because it is, like you mentioned, a really great opportunity to build rapport with clients. They might be coming in nervous, right? And I'm here to like diffuse any nerves. My goal is for that the skincare experience is not daunting, but something that's enjoyable and something that they want to come back to.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Also, to your point about facial massage, because again, like in Facebook groups, I often see estheticians say like, I don't do fluff facials.
Yeah.
I think we're just on the edge of a lot of our industry realizing how beneficial facial massage is and that it's not just about relaxation.
Yes.
And I do think that that can be a way for sure to set yourself apart. There's so many amazing things that you can do with facial massage. Aside from facial massage and the continuing education of facial massage, and aside from your consultation process, if you had to just share one of the most valuable things you've done for your business, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say it's investing in my website and to also have an online shop. Because my first answer would be, just investing in myself, and continuing education. But I think truly, because I did my website work last year in the spring, and it was a really big investment for me and for the business. But as soon as I did it, I was so grateful to have done it because it not only relieved burden on a system that just wasn't working for me beforehand. If clients needed to purchase something, they would have to reach out to me to create an invoice.
Right.
Whereas now, since I have my website and my online shop, clients can easily purchase at any point of the day, whether I'm available or not, whether the business is open or not. Having that ease, we are living in such a digital world now that I do think it's a non-negotiable to have, whether you get it now or like you build up to it. But the online shop has really changed the course of my business in terms of my systems and processes and just client experience. I also will say that like I have several people who I don't know how they find me, whether it's through Instagram or just Google, I don't know, but they're like these random customers that find me and purchase from our shop too, And so it's just been such an amazing resource. It's also allowed me to, because I have a client resources page, this is just for my clients, whether they're in person or virtual. And it has resources, it has policies, it has post-care instructions. Like it's just like this little hub for clients to go back to. And so I feel like with the website, you can do just so much more than just provide information. Like it can, again, just provide more care, support for clients.
And sometimes that's like their first contact point, right? Like they're going online and searching, and then they go to your website. And it is their first impression. And to your point about, the online shopping, not only does it make it easier for the client, it also makes it easier for you, I would imagine, right? You're not taking orders, like you said, not the back and forth. So like it's a win-win. Yeah, you have to take some time to set that up and there's a learning curve. But like once it's there, it's so nice to just be able to offer that and then not have to have that back and forth, like you said.
Exactly. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like for a random customer that's found me online and wants to buy products from me. When I think about that, I'm like, how would that even be possible? Like that did not happen before I had a website. So yeah, it's definitely helped to streamline a lot of things.
I love that.
Yeah.
What are some KPIs, key performance indicators that you look at to assess the health of your business? And then also, how often do you kind of dive into those numbers?
Okay, I love this question because I think you guys had recently sent a blog out about your most recent post about KPIs. And I was reading through it and I was like, oh, this is so good. So I do take a look at several different KPIs. I look at rebook rate, retention rate, retail to service, average sale or average revenue per client, and then number of sales a month. For me, I find that these numbers really help me to figure out, okay, is the business doing well or is it not? Where are the areas that we need to work on a little bit more? And so I tend to look at some of these numbers on either a daily or a weekly basis, and then others more so like monthly to quarterly. So like for instance, my average revenue per client, I will actually take a look at that somewhat on a weekly basis just because I want to keep temperature like what's going on, but I'll definitely look at that on a monthly. At the end of every month, I do run my reports from Square, my POS system, to kind of take a look at that number. And then number of sales a month as well. Sometimes there are months where I have lower number of sales a month, but my revenue and or my average revenue per client is higher. And so I dig deeper to figure out like what happened. And so I do find that that's really helpful, but also retention rate and rebook rate is really important to me. I tend to look at those more on a quarterly basis. I do feel like my clients, they tend to stick with me. Many of them do choose to come month to month, which I'm really grateful for. And so because I know that they're very steady and consistent with their treatments, I don't look at these numbers that often, but it is nice to kind of know, okay, data-wise, how are things looking? And I think with me hiring and right now training my first esthetician, these are definitely numbers that I'm going to be taking a look at more frequently, especially when it comes to her and her books, just making sure that she's doing well, we're providing great care and service to clients and all that type of stuff.
I love that. How is that going, by the way?
It's going well. It's a new chapter, and I knew that this was going to be a lot more work, but I didn't realize how much more work it was going to be. And I think, at least in my perspective, whenever you create a business, so much of yourself goes into it. So then when you hire somebody, you're entrusting that person with pieces of the business. And at least I find myself pouring myself out into her. But it's also showing me things about myself as a business owner, as a leader, as a person, as an esthetician that I haven't seen so far, and it wasn't until she's come on, and so it's been a really stretching time in a few ways, but also like so much great growth and also seeing for myself, like my capacity, and what I am able to do. So it's a very complex situation, but it's just shown me so much, which I'm really grateful for.
That's awesome. Okay, before I let you go, I just want to know, what are some industry trends you're excited about, and what are like your 2 top favorite products that we distribute?
Okay, so industry trends. I've seen this more so specifically within my own clientele, this first point, but I feel like a lot of clients and people out there are kind of getting tired of the onslaught of marketing coming towards their way, specifically about Korean skincare online. There's so many products, so many companies, being pushed, and it can be really confusing for a lot of people. And I've had several clients within the last few months, year, where they come in with their TikTok Korean skincare routine, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they say to me, I don't know if this is working for me or not, and I'll ask them, well, are you seeing the results that you're wanting? They're like, I don't know. They want clarity. Clients, customers, they want clarity as to what they're using and how it's going to help them because they're also investing money. I'm starting to see more and more of that. And then I feel like there's this rise in medical providers becoming more interested in the gut-skin axis, which I'm really excited about since I talk about this with a lot of my acne clients. This is something that I feel has been more known amongst estheticians, but medical providers haven't been as open to it and considering it up until now. So I'm really excited to see that kind of emerging. And then the other industry trend that I'm super excited about is microneedling over acne. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this. For so long we've been told microneedling over acne is a no-no. It's going to spread bacteria. We don't want to do that. But there have been some estheticians out there, who are showing us that microneedling over acne is actually okay for some, not all, and that it actually does provide great results. So this is something that I definitely want to look into a little bit more. But these are some of the trends that I'm seeing. What are your personal thoughts around this?
This is why I feel so important to remain open-minded, because we do work in a science field, and our understanding of the skin and modalities is always, always changing.
Yeah.
And so being open-minded, continuing education, making sure you're following the right people is so, so important. But same, like when I did microneedling training, I went through Dr. Lance Sutterfield, which was so thorough, almost too thorough, where I felt like I was in some sort of like medical class. Great, right? But it has been interesting, following him, and his information is kind of like, not the gold standard, but like he's the godfather of microneedling. And so seeing what he's saying about exactly what you said, they're finding that microneedling over acne actually is beneficial, and it just really challenges what we've learned in school.
Yes.
So I always say, I'm not a scientist. I'm not the one that's conducting these tests or really diving into research the same way, but I do follow the industry and I do read a lot of published medical reports. And so my information is based off of what everyone else is also reading. Obviously I'm not in the treatment room anymore, which is kind of sad, but trying things out, right? Because you do learn a lot by actually doing. It's kind of like when State Board comes in and they're like, this actually happened to me when I had my studio. They came in and they saw my hydrofacial machine and they said, you know what, you're not going to be able to do hydrofacials anymore because we're trying to limit chemical peels, and estheticians will not be able to do chemical peels in the near future. And I said, well, hydrofacial is not a chemical peel. But you have people coming in who are trying to impose these regulations who really have no idea what's actually happening.
Yeah.
My point is, we learn so much by doing. It's really important that we stay in the craft and we really try to find things so we can continue learning more and more about our industry, about the business, all of those things.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of aesthetics, is that you have to be a student, lifelong student, because there's going to be more and more research coming out, more technologies, more this, more that, and I think that's the fun part of this industry, is that there's never going to be a shortage of information and education, which makes it just so exciting.
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you hopping on today. Again, I just think you are amazing. Just as an esthetician, as a friend, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and watching you. So for everyone listening, if you're interested in following Esther, she is the Korean esthetician on Instagram. And she is also a moderator in our Facebook group, Professional Korean Skincare by Kin. And she is just such a joy and a light in the industry. So thank you, Esther.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I look up to you so much. I just think that you're so amazing and you're doing such incredible work for our industry. And I'm just grateful for you. Thank you so much for having me today.